Hi students, good evening. Welcome to this video session. My name is Samuel Dominic Chukwuemeka, aka Samdam for Peace, as usual. In this video session, we shall discuss lists. In Python, we are going to continue our study on Python, and we're going to discuss lists. So let's open up the PyCharm and also open up Notepad that we shall store our codes. And this is the Codio here on lists. So as we wait for this to open, we can begin this. Before we solve problems in this video, we are going to discuss what lists are to have so you can have an idea first of what are lists, why do we use them, what do we use them to do, and what do we do with them, what operations can we do with them. Okay, so you can run this code. Next, you can read all these, you can read it later on. We are here now. We talked about iterations, so this time around let's create a new project, and we're gonna call it lists. Or you know what, under let's create a new project. Let's go ahead and create a new project, and this project we are going to call it a sequence data types. Sequence data types. Okay, sequence data types, and we'll open it in current window, the project. And this sequence data type, we right click, new Python file, and let's name this lists. Let's name it lists. Okay, lists. So sequence data types in Python, actually let's go ahead and open up my website, samuelchukwuemeka.com. Technology, and this Python. Like I said, this Python library is very, very important. Very, very important. And let's type in lists. Let's go ahead and type in lists. Okay. Click go. And we look at here data structures, lists. So as you can see, lists are data structures. Okay, now I'm gonna write this. Lists are, number one, they are data structures. Now they are data types. They are data types. And what kind of data types actually? Sequence data types. Now, what are sequence data types? Any data type that has a sequence of items, okay? Like string. String is a text sequence data type. Then you have lists, you have sets, you have tuples, you have dictionaries. Okay, so these are sequence data types, which, anything that has a sequence of items, okay, it contains a sequence of items. Okay, lists are data containers. Okay, now what are you know, some people will say, well, I've said data structures. Why do I say data containers also? Well, they contain data. Okay, it holds data, stores data. It contains data, which means it holds data, it stores data, so that you can do a lot of things with it. Okay. Now, a list is what we call a mutable data type. Okay. Mutable sequence data type. Uh, Now, I just, like, I'm not gonna go deep into this, but just to explain this, when we say mutable sequence data type, it means mutation. Mutable is, if you probably did biology, you talk about mutation. What is mutation? A change in the genetic constitution of an organism. That's mutation. So mutable means something you can change. Okay, you can change it, you can add to it, in which case we say append. You can remove from it, you can insert something into it, you can modify it. That is what we mean by mutable data type. Okay, mutable sequences of items. You can add to it, you can remove from it, you can insert, you can modify. That's what I mean by mutable. You can change it. Okay, mutable, mutation. Now, later we discuss other sequence data types. Some of them are immutable. If we say immutable, that means you cannot change it. For now, let's focus on lists. Okay, later we'll do a video whereby we'll discuss sequence data types in general. Okay, then later we'll do videos where we'll discuss tuples, videos where we'll discuss sets, videos where we'll discuss strings, videos where we'll discuss dictionaries. Okay, separate videos. But for now, we want to focus on lists. So with a list, you can change your list. You can prioritize it. Okay, so more examples on this. Let's say now you have a list. Example. Let's say example list of your favorite football or basketball, list of your five favorite actors or actresses, or football teams or basketball teams, or 5 favorite presidents. Okay, so with that list, let's say now you have 5 favorite actors, you rated them, is your list. Okay, then maybe one of the actors says something you didn't like, or another actor came up, and then you now like that actor better than this. So you can remove one of your favorite actors from the original list you have and add the new actor. Okay, you have list of your 5 favorite basketball teams. Okay, then one of your basketball team, maybe you went to one of their games and somebody cussed you out, or somebody made you angry, and maybe one of the manager did something you didn't like, and you say, okay, you know what, this is not my favorite basketball team anymore because of the experience. So you can add to it, you can remove the ones you have from it. Okay, now these are kind of different, like list of the months in a year. Okay, list of the months in a year is fixed. Okay, we have 12 months in a year, so that's once you can't change that list. Yeah, but if you have list of the things you have to do today, the list of the tasks you have to do today, then you can easily change the list. So a list is something you can change. You can add to it, you can remove from it. An emergency might come up and you add this important task to your list. So it's something you can change. Okay. Now, some people use examples of maybe months in a year. It's just for illustrations. But when somebody asks you, okay, give examples of lists in Python, make sure you write examples of lists that is mutable, something that can be changed. Okay. You can add to it, you can remove from it. Now, a list uses square brackets, or we just say brackets, or simply brackets. Or we say brackets. Okay, and this is just it here. It uses brackets. You can, some people will say square brackets. Okay. A list only holds comma separated data. Okay, it only holds comma separated data, whether it is strings or integers or floats. You have to separate each item with a comma. Separate each item with a comma. Now, for strings, you also have to use, for strings in a list, you also have to put it in quotes, either single quotes or double quotes. So for strings in a list, you have to also include single quotes or double quotes, double quotation marks. Actually, what quotation marks? Single quotation marks, which you can say just single quotes, single quotation marks, or double quotation marks. Okay. So you can see a list if you have any programming background before, you know, you can just see a list as similar to arrays. I'm a JavaScript programmer, so I like JavaScript a lot. It's one of the scripting languages I really like. You can say it as similar to arrays. You can modify it, you can add to it, and the rest of them. Now, a list uses what we call zero-based indexing. Zero-based indexing of arrays, just like you have in programming languages. It's usually zero-based indexing. So the first element in an array has index 0. So this means that the first element in the array, this means that the first element in the array, in the list, okay, let me now use the first elements in the list has index 0, second element in the list has index 1, and the rest of them, and so on and so forth. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, what does this mean? You can see, like, the index of an element describes like how far the element is away from the beginning of the list. Okay, the index of an element in a list is how far that element is away from the beginning of the list, from the beginning of first element or first element in the list. So that's why, like, if you look at the first element, of course, is 0. So the second element is one element away from the first element. So that's why we say index 1. That's the way you can look at the index. Okay. Now, the last element in a list, has index -1. Okay. The second to the last element, so just take note of that. And we're going to illustrate all this in a moment. The second to the last element in the list has index -2. Okay. Now before we continue, we can also say a list can contain a mixture of data types. Okay, including, it can contain a mixture or just by it, including strings, data type, integers, floats, etc. It can just contain only strings, or it can contain a string and an integer. Okay, that's the thing with lists. So it can contain a mix of that. Now let's look at what you could do with lists. Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm going to write values. Okay, just this is the way you create lists. Just in Python, you just have a variable and you assign it. Once you assign it to something, that means you've defined the variable. We talked about that in previous videos. So let's look at these values. The first one, I'll say love, I'll say peace, because we want all good things in this world. Joy, we want strength, we want faith, we want hope, we want charity. Hey, charity covers a multitude of sins. Charity. Okay, now as you can see, this is underlined red, because these are strings. If I put 3 here, okay, you see it didn't underline string because it's an integer. If I put 2.5, a float, it didn't underline it because it's a float. Right now, let's start with strings. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. With strings, like I said, you have to include, I love putting double quotes. So I'm going to put this, peace, joy, strength, faith, hope, charity. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we are going to talk about what you could do. What are the sort of things you could do with a list? Okay, we've seen the applications of lists is to hold data, to store data. Now we're going to talk about the functions and the methods you could do with a list. What are the things you could do with a list in Python, and how is it gonna be useful in your job? If you look here, it says here more on lists, which means they have talked about lists before. Probably this. Let's see here. An informal introduction to Python. I'm gonna open this link in a new tab. You right click, open link in a new tab, and then let me open this here. Let me just drag this first. So this is probably chapter 3 on the Python library. They talked about strings, and here they talked about lists here. Okay, now you can read up all these. You can read them up. As you can see here, talked about slicing, and I'm going to kind of talk about this in a moment. So lists are mutable types. So you can kind of read up all these. Let's start with this built-in function len, and then we can go to methods on list. Okay. If I want to find how many elements in the list, so you use the len function. Now with a function is good. You can call the function anytime. I would like to I can assign it to a new variable. With a function, you can assign it to a new variable. With a method, you should not. And I'm going to show you what I mean in a moment. So what I'm going to say now is like, I'm going to say count of values is equal to len values. Now this is a function here. Is an inbuilt function, the length of the list. And then I can say print count values. Okay. Now go ahead and run this. Run list. Okay, and it tells me 7. Okay, print count, it tells me 7, because if you count it, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to explain something important in a moment. Now we can also sort this list. Sorting a list, you can sort the list. Okay, usually by sorting it, it sorts it in ascending order. If it is, let me go ahead and copy all this, cut this, so I can have more space. And I'm gonna paste it here. Okay, so usually if you sort it, if it is an integer, if integer or float data type, it will sort in ascending order by default. Sort in ascending order by default. Okay, now if strings, okay, it will sort in alphabetical order by default. So here we are first of all gonna use function, using a function to sort the list. Now we're gonna use an inbuilt function because we have not discussed functions. Okay, so and I don't want to jump to a lot of things. I know I've talked about functions, and I've not been talking about methods in previous videos, but tonight I'm going to talk about methods. Actually, you've seen methods here. So, and you ask me, what is method? What is function? Okay, we're going to do another video where we will discuss variables. Of course, we've been using variables. Data types, we've been using them. Functions, methods, classes, objects. Okay, object-oriented programming, and the rest of them. I want you to at least know the basics. Okay, so I don't want to kind of discuss a lot of things. So let me just teach you what you need to know, and then we still move on and solve problems. So we can use, if we are using functions, one nice thing about function is that you can always reuse it, the reusability. So I can just say sorted virtues list, and I'm going to come here and say sorted. I'm going to say sorted, sorted, and I'll put virtues list. Okay, I'll put sorted. I'm sorry, virtues. Okay, because the virtues is the list, and then I say print sorted virtues list. Okay, now I'm going to comment this print out. Okay, I'm just gonna be commenting it so we can see that. So as you can see, let me first of all print virtues list, and then let's print virtues. You just say print virtues, using the print function. So this is the actual list here: love, peace, joy, strength, faith, hope, charity. That's the actual list, and then this is the sorted one. As you can see, C is the first alphabetically, then F. Okay, charity, faith, hope, joy, love, peace, strength. So this is a function. Now, we also have a method that we can use. However, with the method, we are not going to come. Okay, I'm going to comment this using an inbuilt method to sort the list. Here we have the methods here .sort. Excuse me, list.sort. So if you try and do this, let's say sorted virtues list 1 equal to virtues.sort, and you say print sorted virtues list 1. Okay, remember I use sorted virtues list here, and I'm using sorted virtues list 1 for this method. Okay, you run this and it says none. Now I want to explain something here, folks. Okay, this is a function. As you can see, the inbuilt function is sorted. Okay, this is the inbuilt function. Sorted first, and you put parentheses, and you put virtues, which is the list. The list is virtues. But this is a method .sort. Do you see the difference at least? This is a function. Okay, and we have several inbuilt functions in Python, several of them. We also have several methods in Python for lists, several of them, and we are going to be using them in this video. But I wanted to clarify at least, if you see this is sorted and then parentheses virtues. You see with functions, you can easily reuse it, and you can I assigned it to a variable here, which is sorted virtues list. But here, I assigned it to a variable here, and here, function sort doesn't return anything more. But this is a method actually. But here is saying function sort doesn't return anything more. If you point your mouse on it, and if you click more to read it, it says here it highlights situations. It highlights situations when an assignment is done on a function call, but the inferred function doesn't return anything. Now, a method is a type of function. As you can see here, this identifies it as a function. It's actually a method. A method is a type of function. Okay, just know this for now. I'm not going to go into details so I don't confuse you. Okay, I'm not going to go into details now. You later watch another video where we can explain everything in details about methods and functions. But just know that this is a function, this is a method. And even though this says function sort, a method is a type of function. Okay, but just know if you have virtues.sort is a method, sorted virtues is a function. Now, how do I now do this with all these methods? Okay, with most of them, not all of them, some of them you can still get by. okay, by assigning variables, so you can just print it. Even if we print this, even if we print like this, print sort virtues dot sort, virtues dot sort. Even if you print this virtues dot sort, you print it and it still says none. Okay, so what are you going to do first? This is what you do. You do virtues dot sort, okay, and then you now say print virtues, okay, and now it will print it, and you see you have the same thing. So with a method, we just use the list, use the method. You know, with list, it is mutable. You can always change it. It's mutable. So we just put the method. We just call the method on the list, print it. Okay, that's virtues.sort. Okay, so I'm going to comment this. I'm gonna comment this so we can look at other methods. We can look at other methods and then we can begin to solve problems in Codio. If we want to find the if we want to count, let's go ahead and append virtues.append. Append means adding to the list. It adds to the end of the list. It adds to the end of the list. So virtues.append, we want to append piece. Okay, you know I'm done for piece. And then print virtues. Print that list virtues. Let's run this. Now we see this now. It adds piece to the end. Piece to the end. So now we have two instances of piece. So how do we know? We can say virtues.count piece. Okay, we can, in this case, we can actually say print virtues.count piece. Okay, how many instances of piece do we have here? It does it and it tells you it's two. Okay, after appending it, we can count it. So we use virtues.count. Now we can add. So let's I want to cut this so we can continue our stuff. So this is the original. So we can have space, okay? I'm cutting it so we can have space. This is the original list, okay? Now, we can, I cut the list already. Let me put it back, okay? Now, we can, so we've done count. Let me cut it out and paste here. Then the next thing I want us to talk about, we can find the index of love. Okay, let's say find the index of the element. So let's say we want to find, in this case we can, you know, for count, okay, for count and for index, we can assign it to a variable. Okay, we can assign it to a variable. We can even print it out. So let's say maybe index of love is equal to virtues dot index and love. So we can print index love, okay, and that will give us 0 because it has 0 index. Love is 0, piece is that. If we put piece, piece, as you can see here, piece has okay, we'll talk about when you have two instances. Okay, but right now this is in the index for love is 0, index for peace is 1. If we do this, if we put peace instead of love, and we say index peace, for instance, index peace, and then here we put index peace. Okay, and we print it, it will give us 1. Another thing you can do now, so for count and for index, okay, where you have integers, you can write this for count and for index, okay, where results are integers, you can assign a variable to the method and then print it out. Or another way is you can also use the print function directly. You can use the print function, inbuilt function directly. So I can say print virtues dot index, and I'm looking at faith. What is the index for faith? Okay, and let me comment this print out. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The index for faith is 4. It will print out 4, as you can see it. Okay, now another thing I've commented it out. Let's keep on doing. Let's do at least several ones that you need, the knowledge that you need before we now start the video, before we now start solving problems in Codio. We can also slice the list. Let's say, anyway, before we slice the list, we can find the element based on the index. Find the element based on the index. Because in this case, we just found the index based on the element. Find the index, find the element based on the index. So we can say we can have it as virtues print virtues, and we put the square bracket, the index. Okay, we notice that faith is 4. If we put 4, print virtues index 4, it will print faith. We can do this. It will print faith. Okay, it will print faith. Now, like I said, let me comment this out again. Like I said, the last element is charity. So if you want to get charity, you can do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Virtues 6. Print it, it's charity. Or you can also do virtues -1. -1. And it will still print charity. It will still give you charity. If you do, if you also print virtues 6, index 6, it will also give you charity. Oh, I'm writing this as if it's this one. It will give you charity. Okay, you print virtues -1, it will still give you charity. Charity. Okay, because that's the last element in the list. Okay, another thing you could do, I'm going to comment this out. Another thing you could do is you can slice. You can slice the list. Let's say you want the last 3 elements. Okay, say you want, let me go ahead and cut this. You can slice the list. Come here, paste. Let's say you want the last three elements. You want the last three elements. So you can say print versus the index. Now, with the last three elements, this is the way the list works, just like we did in loops. We did a range, the range in loops. Remember when we did a range in loops, okay? When we did loops and we did range, we said maybe for I in range, okay, and if you say 2 to 5, remember when we did this, it takes the range function. This is a function. It takes two arguments. It means start with 2 up to 5, okay? Begin with 2, then up to 5. It includes 2, and excludes 5. The same goes with list. The same goes with list. I'm going to cut this. The same goes with list. You want the last three elements. So here you have 0, 1, 2, 3. The last three elements are faith, hope, and charity. That's the last three elements. So you could do from this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can start with 4 and you just leave it like this. When you do this here, you will have faith, hope, and charity. Faith, hope, charity. Like when you don't specify this, it means start from index 4 and go to the end. Okay, so this is a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it includes 4. Okay, but it doesn't. It, you know, if you put this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you put 7, you know, let's do this first, and then we will also do 7, because that's another way you can do it. Okay, let me say last three elements. This is the first method. Okay, you print this, it will give you faith, hope, charity, as you can see. Now second method you can do it is you can say print versus from 4 to 7. Don't put 6, because if you put 6, it will be 4 and 5. Okay, now this means index 4, index 5, and index 6, because this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So index 4, index 5, and index 6. Okay, this include, if you have this means includes. So this is includes index 4, excludes index 7, just like you have it in loops. Okay, so this will also give you faith, hope, charity, as you can see. That's the second method. Okay, now third method. Another thing you can do, because it's good, like, you know, I like varieties. That's the, you know, I like knowing several ways you can do stuff, and that is one of the nice things about programming. Several ways you can do stuff. We can do print values. We can start from, because this is -1. Okay, remember, if we did -1 is charity, -2 is -2 is hope, -3 is faith. Okay, so what we could do is, and this is -4, so we could have it up to, now we can have 0, because the 0 is gonna be love. Okay, and if we had a -1 here, I'm trying to get up to -1 to print charity. Yeah, because if you have I think you just have these two methods. Now, let's say you want strength, faith, hope. Okay, let's say you want strength, faith, hope. Then you can do it two ways also. Say you want strength, faith, hope. Strength. I was thinking it's 3 methods for this, but no. Okay, it's 2 methods. Strength, faith, hope. Okay, you have 2 methods you can do it. You can do first method. You will say print values. This is called slicing. So here you can start. I'm going to cut this so we have space. I'll come here, I paste it. So strength, faith, hope. This is 0, 1, 2, 3. So it starts from 3. You put 3 here. 0, 1, 2, 3. Then 4, 5, 6. So you have to do up to 6. So it includes 3, but it doesn't include 6, which is charity. Okay, and this will give you strength, faith, hope. Now another way you can do it, second method. That's the method I want to use now with negative indices. Negative index is singular, indices is plural. You could have, okay, from this -1, -2, -3, -4. So from -4 to -1. So both of these will give us strength, faith, hope. You run it, and it gives us strength, faith, hope. So these are slicing. We call it slicing. Slicing in lists. You can slice them. Okay, and this happens with integers and floats also, not just with strings. What if you want to find the index of an element not in the list? Okay, now we have a index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 indices. So let's say you want to find the 7th index. Okay, you have 6. Index is singular, indices is plural. So values 7, 7th index. If you run this now, it will give you a list out of range. Okay, it will give you an error, list out of range. And later we'll discuss exception error, runtime error, and the rest of them, syntax error. Okay, we'll discuss those in another video. So another thing I want to talk about is, if you print values, you can print values. You can also print it. You can also say print values. Since we talked about slicing, if you have this and you just put this like this, it's going to print everything. You can do it either way, like this or like this. Okay. If you print this, it gives you back the list. Okay. Another thing I want us to talk about is insert. You can insert an element in the list. Okay. And after this, I think later on, because we will have we'll have part 2. I'll call this part 1. I'll call this part 1. Later we have part 2, so we can talk more. It's too much, honestly. List is too, and this is just list. So you know, we still have other ones like tuples. So let's do this, and then we will now talk about your homework. Okay. Another thing you can do is you can insert an element into this list. Like, let's say we want to insert blessing, and we want to insert it. If you look at this list.insert, inserts an element at a given position. So want to insert blessing after joy. Okay, so we say this is index 0, index 1, index 2. So we can just do list dot insert. Okay, and we want to insert it because it says here I is the index of the element before which to insert. So this is 0, 1, 2. We want to insert it after joy. So after joy, index 2, insert blessing. Insert blessing. And we can just print virtues. Okay. We can just print virtues, and it will now give us okay, let's see here. List dot insert. Oh, you see, I put list dot insert. I'm sorry, just because the list is virtues. The list is the virtues. So virtues dot insert. Okay, and we print this, and it gives us that blessing. It's inserted it. Oh, 0, 1, 2. Okay, it says here index of the element before which to insert. Before which to insert, not after which to insert. So if we want to insert it after joy, we now put 3, and then we insert blessing after joy. Okay. All right. Let us go ahead and start solving problems. There are so much to learn more. At least we've talked about the index. We've talked about index. And you know, with index, you can even, after inserting this now, blessing is index 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. You can even say, okay, you can say index blessing, like we talked about before, index blessing to be virtues 3. Okay, and then print index blessing, and it gives you 0, 1, 2, 3. It gives you 3. It gives you blessing. I mean, index blessing is yeah. It gives you blessing. Yeah, because it's the element, 4th element, because it has index 3. Okay, we will have part 2 whereby we can talk more on lists. But at least you now have an idea of what we could do with lists. So anything I'm doing as we solve problems, you know why I'm doing that. Okay, I'm gonna clear this, and I'm going to copy this out. And this is with strings. We've done a lot with strings. At least you have an idea of this. It's so much more, but let's continue. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. Later you can read up all these. Later you can read it up. You can read it up. You can read it up. Now, this is a way to create an empty list. To create an empty list, you just put this, you know, empty list, empty brackets. Find the length function. We've done that. Looping, we've done some of this, so you can read all this, Okay, let's now begin. So I'm going to copy this here. We are passing in a list of numbers. Add up all the list elements and output the result. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Now we'll copy this here. We'll come here. Question 1. Put this here. Comment this out. Comment. Okay. So numbers is this. They're using the command line, but I'm going to use input. Okay. So numbers is equal to input. No, not integer. This is the way you do lists. You put input and you say the list of numbers. What are the list of? What are the list or input the list of numbers? Input the list of numbers. Okay, and let's do this in a new line. So they will put in a list of numbers and then you add up all the elements and then print out the sum. Okay, so and with lists, I'm gonna make a comment here. With lists, you have to put this. Okay, add dot split, because you want to just like an array, you want to split up all the elements of the list. Okay, so we have to add dot split here, dot split, and we want to separate it with comma. Okay, so I'm gonna print numbers. I want to show you something here. So if I run this, it will say impute the list of numbers 2, 3, 5. Okay, and this is the list here. Do you see it puts the numbers in? Single quotes. Of course, it separates it with comma. Of course, in a list, you have to separate each element with a comma. It puts the numbers in single quotes. It treats it as strings. It treats it as strings. Okay. It treats it as strings and not as integers. And folks, that is not what we want. That is not what we want. No, that is not what we want. Okay, that is not what we want. Now with the strings, you put single quotes and double quotes. With integers, no, we only want the numbers and the comma. We don't want you to put single quotes and double quotes in it. We don't want that. That is not what we want. So what we're going to do now is, there are three methods. Okay, 3 methods to make the list to treat the element as integers. To treat the elements, because we as integers, we have to treat its elements as integers. We have, before we add it, we can add strings, and we cannot. If we go now and we put sum, you know, if we print sum, let's say now we go ahead now after we print numbers, and then we now say print sum, we call the sum function numbers. Now see what it's gonna do. Let's say we have 2, 3, 5. You see, it's an error. It gave us an error because this is a string. It treats it as string. We can add it. You see that? So it's not gonna work. So anytime you're dealing, I'm going to comment as some numbers. So gives error because it treats a string, because it treats it as strings. So anytime you're working with numbers, you have to make it not to treat it as strings. Okay, so 3 methods we're going to discuss here. The first method, okay, we use the map function. Use the map function. Use the map function. Okay. Map function. So what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna use number list. I'm going to put this as a number list because I want it that way. I want to put it that way. To put it as number, I want to assign a new variable. So I'm going to put number list equal to, I will say list, this is the way we write it, map, integers, and then we put numbers. Then now print number list. Okay, see what I've done? So we run this. I'm going to print numbers, and then I also print number list. So you see the difference. You see what I'm talking about. So if I put 2, 3, 5, as you can see it now, it has done that. 2, 3, 5. Okay, it has done that. And then I can just say, all I can just say is, I can just say print sum, because that's what they're asking us for, to add up all the list elements and output the result. So I can just say print sum number list. Okay, so it will give me 2 plus 3, 5 plus 5, 10. If we do that, we run this, 2, 3, 5, and that is it, 10. That's the answer. Okay, so this is all we need here. This is all we need. First method, using the map function. That's all we need for this code, and it works. Okay, and it works. If we check it, oops, your program output 25, expected output 25. Oh, okay, because I put print number list. It just wants 25. It didn't want print number list. So I comment this out and I check it. Yo, thank God, it works. Okay, that is the first method. Now, second method. So what I'm going to do now is I cut this So first method is using a map function. Okay, using a map function. That's the first method. Oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and copy all these first. Copy. And I come here and I paste it. Okay. So that's first method. Now, second method. Second method, we want to use a list comprehension, what we call a list comprehension. What is a list comprehension? Very important. Importante. You come here. Later we'll do list as stacks and list as queues. Probably do that in another video. Very important. Now, list comprehensions provide a concise way to create lists. With list comprehension, folks, it makes it so much easier. Makes it so much easier. Like one line of code. Like look at list comprehension right here. See, this is the list comprehension. You just write this. You write the variable and you just put the brackets and you write your code. Okay, this x squared for x in this range. So a list comprehension makes it much easier to do. So let's use a list comprehension for this. I'm gonna use number list equal to you assign it, you put a bracket, okay, or some people will say square bracket, integer, elements in the list, we put elements for elements in numbers. So what this, and this is just it here, this is just it right here. So it means what this is saying is all the elements in this list, make it integers. That's what it's saying. So integer elements for elements in these numbers. You know, each one, for each element in these numbers, just make it integers. And we can just say print number list. And folks, that is it. Okay? And we can just say print some number list. Print some number list. That's it. Let's run it. If we have 2, 3, 5, see that? That's the second way to do that. Okay, second way to do that is using a list comprehension. So if I come here, I copy this. If I come here and I remove this and I paste this, okay, I run this, it will mark it wrong because I had this. I just comment this out. I comment this out again, I check it, thank God it works. Okay, that's the list comprehension. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. That second method, cut this out. Come here, paste it. Now, which one you know, I like list. I like the first method, list. Just put list, use the map function, you know. I also like list comprehension because it's just one line of code. The map function here, at least, is one line of code. But as we do more problems, you know, we will try, you know, for questions that you use for loops in lists, for questions that you use for loops in lists, list comprehension is really easier. The third method that we shall discuss is the for loop. Third method is the use of for loop. So for this method, we don't need to create a new variable. We don't need to create a new variable. Now remember, in the first and second method, if we rewind this, in the first and second method, first method we used map function. So I used a new variable, number list. Okay, so for me, when I write my codes in lists, anytime I change my list, I want to use a new variable for it. So numbers is the original variable, that's the variable that is the list, is a list. Okay, so I used numbers, then you put the numbers in, but it treats it as strings. Now I have another list that treats it as numbers. So that was why I renamed it as number list. Some people will still use numbers and still do that. But I like to rename it because this time around it treats it as numbers. As you can see, we use the map function. Now the second method, we use the list comprehension. List comprehension is easier to use whenever you have a for loop. It makes it most times one line of code. Most times when you have a for loop, okay, I'm not gonna say whenever you have a for loop, but most times when you have a for loop that you're going to use in the list comprehension makes it way easier to just write one or two lines of code. Okay, as you can see here, just one line of code. So here I'm just saying, make all the elements integers for every element in these numbers here. In these numbers that trace it as string, make all the elements integers. For elements in these numbers, in this list, make it integers. Remember, we use square bracket for list comprehension. Now this third method, we're going to use a for loop, and we're going to use index this time around. So for index in range, remember we use the range function when we dealt with loops. And I'm going to put here size. Okay, let me go ahead and define size. Size is just the length of the list. Some people will just put length directly, but I like to really simplify my list. Some people will come here, instead of putting size, like I defined a variable for the size, they will just put len and put numbers. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. I just like to define, I like to simplify my code. So I'm going to put size, and then here for index in that size, okay, which means beginning from 0 index up to the length, from 0 index up to the index, up to the length of the list. Okay, the elements, each element at that index. So we don't really need to, here we don't come, each element at that index, this will be index. Okay, we don't need to now create a variable. No, we're writing a for loop, so we can use this original list, that original variable here, numbers. So we don't come and start creating a new variable. So if you're using this third method, you don't need to come and create another variable here. You have to use this original list. Some people prefer this third method. Some people prefer it. That's fine if you like it. But if you ask me, I prefer the first method. It's way easier. Sometimes I prefer the second method, list comprehension. Sometimes, but my favorite would be the map function. So for this third method, for the index in that range, which is this size, the length of the list, numbers, each number at the elements at each index, make it integer of the element at that index. That is what it means. This is what it means. And that's it. If you go ahead now, if you go and print numbers, it gives you the same thing we got initially. So if we say 235, you have it as string and you have it this. That is the third method. Okay, and of course we can do print some numbers, and it will give us 2, 3, 5, and it will give us 10. So if you want to copy this, you can copy this, and if you come here and you paste it, okay, you check it. Okay, we just comment this out, print numbers. You check it and it works. Thank God it works. Okay, now I used some, I made it so easy for me. I used some function. What if your professor says don't use some function? Write the total on your own, to use a for loop. So let me comment. I'm gonna comment this out. What if I don't want to use some function? Because I've used it, it makes it so easier, which is nice. I mean, you're gonna use what, of course, if you're working on a project, you don't expect to. I mean, if it has inbuilt functions, why do you want to punish yourself? Go ahead and use it. Okay, but assuming we don't want to use, if we're not using without inbuilt function, if we don't want to use inbuilt function, we can also write a for loop. We can say for element in numbers. Okay, for element in numbers, we define total. So we can initialize total. Now, let me say this. I don't want to use sum equal to 0. Sum is already an inbuilt function. Don't use it. If you see inbuilt functions already in Python, avoid using those names as variables. Avoid them. So if you type sum, it comes up. It's an inbuilt function. Don't use it as a variable name. Okay? Use total. You can use total, and I initialized it to 0. We've done loops. Okay? So for element in numbers, total is 0. Initialize it to 0. Total plus equal element. Okay? And then I can say print total. And like you see, I commented out sum. So I'm now using total, print total. Let's run this and see. If I have 2, 3, 5, and that is it. It prints it out, total 10. Okay? And that will refresh your mind on for loops again. So I can copy this. This is without using inbuilt function. I come here and I will paste it. I will comment out this, and I'm gonna paste this. I'll paste this and check it. Thank God it works. You see that? Okay. We are gonna stop here for tonight. We'll stop here for tonight. So because the video is getting so long, please watch out. At least we've done question 1. So next video we will begin with question 2. Okay, so at least you know the 3 methods to solve this. You know the 3 methods to solve this. For as we move on, other questions to Uh, we will be using, I'm going to be using either the first or second method. That's my preference. So for the rest of the questions, if we need to, if it has to deal with integers and we need to, and it involves user input, okay, remember this is dot split. That's for list, so that we can split the elements in the list. And if you use this first, it treats it as strings. Then we need to use any of the three methods to make it to treat it as integers before we can do anything with it. Okay, so for the rest of the questions, if we come across a situation whereby we have to input numbers like this, I will prefer to use either the first or second method. That will be my preference. Okay, and not the third method. All right. Thank you so much, students, for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Watch out for other videos, and you have a good night.